So that was in 2005, and in 2006 I was on my last year of doing my master's back in Poland, and I came to Birmingham to do my Erasmus program. Stayed with my family, met a lot of people, a lot of cool people, met a lot of people that reminded me of my creative passions, because I was studying education and psychology at the time. And when I finished my master's, I decided to come to Birmingham and do a fine art degree. And here I am, and that's where Strix came from. So very much so an immigrant still, I think. I don't feel like an immigrant. I feel like England is my home, but I think I'm not a British person, so if we divide in between a British and an immigrant, I'm definitely an immigrant, which is totally cool. I don't mind that at all.
Can I just say something? I said I'm an expat just because I like saying that. Just because, of course, yes, I am an immigrant by like any dictionary, probably, and there is nothing wrong in that. But of course, immigrant is the connotation of the word is bad, so it's associated with something worse, and always makes me angry to.
Then we should make it good.
Yeah, but always makes me angry hearing that people originally from the West, so-called West, when they go abroad, when they actually work abroad, even in China, for example, they always expat. So it's interesting, this understanding of word and language, how we how people actually associate certain words
and
with,
how people
good and bad
perceive you.
things.
Someone who's called an expat is perceived differently to someone who's called an immigrant. I think nowadays, especially with all the Brexit stuff and all the politics and things going totally berserk all around Europe, it's just,
I usually find that British people, for instance, living abroad, like in Spain, they don't call themselves immigrants, they call themselves expats.
Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yes, but according to the dictionary, they are as much immigrants as
anybody else
so
who moved there.
It's just such a vague difference in the
Me? I was 14 when I came to London for the first time for the summer holidays, and I remember correctly, like, it's funny because I had this reminder during the this year's Love Parade or Pride, and I was almost in the same space. I was in Trafalgar Square and I saw all those beautiful, colorful people, and I just remember when I was 14, so that would be 20 years ago, when I was in London for the first time, and I was sitting on the stairs of Trafalgar Square, and I was like, this is my kind of crazy, and this is where I'm going to be living. And like in Poland we have this custom of like getting pennies and throwing them to the fountains and making a wish. So I think I spent all my like pocket money just like, I'm going to be living over here, I'm going to be living over here. And you have to be careful what you wish for. I even today, coming from Strasbourg very, very early, like my train was at 6 a.m. Doing that, it just makes me. Whenever I come back to London, and I came to St. Pancras, I was like home. So this is it for me, and I think that I don't know how is it over here, but in London it's like, how many English people do I like? I think like 1/10 maybe of my closest friends. Like I live with English people, so in my house we have the house share, so that's it. But I live with so many community, and this is what it is for me. But I also that's another thing that I think that maybe London is not so much England, or London is not so much Great Britain. London is London. Maybe that's what I feel, and I do have a problem with immigrant thing. I do have a serious issue with that. But I think I felt it the most living in Cyprus. But that's totally different story. So in London, it makes me feel accepted. London made me feel very self-confident, and for the moment, London is home. However, I'm not saying that it's going to be forever. Like, I'm actually calculating when my son Hugo goes to college, and then I'm going to see what I'm going to do. So for the moment, it's home.
I think it's the word home is really important, because I believe that a lot of people that spend half of their lives or more living abroad, they wouldn't call their country of origin home. I've been only here for 10 years, and when I go to Poland, I'm just visiting my grandparents, but home is here. Yeah. My brother, who is now 19, half of his life was here. So, you know, when you're a kid and you grow up here, all his teenage years, he's 20 now, he's 20. All his teenage years were spent in the UK, so he's very much, he's Polish on his passport and documents, but he's very much so British.
I think that's what I love about living over here in Europe, is that because Europe is quite tiny actually, and we can travel within like days in different countries, that makes me feel really good. And the other thing that I was thinking when you were saying about visiting, people are very often around Christmas time or like holidays time, they're like, so are you going home? I'm like, no, I am home. I'm going to go to my parents' house, yeah.
That was the other question I was going to ask you. How do you feel when people ask you, are you going to go back, or are you going to go back home? Usually that's what they ask. Are you ever going to go back home? And then it just clicks like,
my friends never ask me that. They
not friends, people in general.
I don't mind that question. I think it's a natural question, and you know, it's fine to ask.
Yeah.
So are you gonna go back home?
Maybe one day, or maybe I'll go to another country, or maybe I'll stay here. Home is where I am.
Yes. For me, the kind of thing is that because I'm working with Polish community and because I'm doing so much activist work, so political, because at the end of the day, yesterday, being in EU Parliament, that was very political. I think that this is how I want to be living. So I want to have a base, and then I want to travel a lot. So this is what my home is like. When I'm traveling, I'm taking my home with me. And the other thing is that I came, so 14, then 16, then 20 something, and then for good I came over here in 2008 with my son, who was already 6. And I always felt like wherever I was going, I was over here. I'm too Polish, but for instance in Poland I'm too. Yeah. I'm not going to say British, but I'm going to like too Londoner. Because like my hometown is called Wijgerden, it has 100,000 people. For a lot of years I had a set of clothing as a fashion designer and stylist. I had a set of clothing for London, and I had a set of clothing for Wijgerden. It was like, don't embarrass my mother too much. Now I just don't care. And I think that they would be surprised if I would come and I would be like other.
I have a question. How do you feel about Brexit? What are your plans in case this country will leave referendum?
Well, we don't know what Brexit is yet, so
Thank you.
It's difficult to answer.
But you have to think about the options. Let's say, yeah, they are leaving, and will you stay? Will you apply for passports? Do you have passports? The British passports?
I bought a book.
How to survive Brexit?
I seriously considered applying for a passport, but because I like to spend my money on traveling and seeing places and experiencing things, then spending $1.5 grand or more on a piece of paper is always a bit of a pain. So and it's like, oh, do I go to Nepal and climb Mount Everest, or do I have a British passport? I'm not entirely sure. So yeah, I have that dilemma every time I think about applying for a British passport. And it hasn't happened yet, but I've been to Nepal and I walked up Mount Everest, so not to the top. So, yeah. So I don't know. I think if I was faced with a choice of applying for visas and renewing visas every year and all of that bureaucracy that comes with not being in the European Union, I probably would apply for a British passport, purely because I just couldn't spend so much time on worrying whether they're gonna allow me the visa, can I work here, can I not work here. My whole career, professional, not artistic career, as a teacher and an educator and a person who works with a lot of people who have problems in their lives, is happened here. I've never worked anywhere else. So I kind of can't imagine now having that all taken away and saying, no, you need to have permission to do that. Mm. I'm helping your communities, I'm working with your kids, I'm making sure that they are happy and they are educated and they are able to go in their adult lives with good self-esteem. And now you're saying, I'm not sure about that. Well, that's a bit, But what upset me about Brexit personally was the people who upset my friends, who dared to say to some of my friends, "Oh, go back to your country. What are you doing here still? We're out. Why are you here? That's just disgusting." And that upset me because I've never experienced that personally, but people close to me have, and it's just not acceptable. Mm. So yeah. I don't know.
Well, I was planning to apply for a citizenship even before there was talk about a referendum, so I probably will. Yes, I will. For me, it's just something natural that after a certain number of years living in this country, planning my future more or less with this country, for me it's natural next step to do.
And since referendum and everything was happening already when I was totally involved with the Polish staff, meaning the total ban on abortion, and we were protesting and everything, I was really not interested in it. And I think all of my friends were really surprised, like, so you call yourself activist, but then what about this? I looked at it as a circus, political circus, that used a lot of funding, and we are standing at the moment in the position that we have no idea what's going to be happening. And Polish is the second language in London, and we have no information about what's going to be with us as like parents, as a residents.
Because the government doesn't know.
So for instance, like if we, especially coming from the creative background, it's so difficult to get any spaces whatsoever for your creative venues, for your projects. Imagine the money that was used.
Email me.
So for instance, so that's why I'm like, Brexit what? What are we talking about? It was political circus that cost a lot of money, and I'm asking why. Regarding the passport, I do consult my son about stuff like that, and he was very much against on asking why now he wants it. Me personally, I had a conversation with somebody who said because, for instance, US visa, and yes, I would love to live and work in creative in New York. So maybe for that reason. However, I would not do it out of the fear or, yeah. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Just what's your attitude towards UK art, in the fact that, going back to your arts council applications, it's a niche. They're not going to give to any niches yet. I find in this country, it's the niche of people that support this in the first place. So what is your attitude towards people in the UK supporting art, and especially European art, and what makes you stay here other than family commitments? What makes you stay here doing art in the UK rather than going to Central Europe or staying in other parts of Europe doing it as well?
So I did burn myself out, and I did go to Cyprus, and I got the job in like corporation, and I was getting really good money like monthly, and that was a very good experience to compare. But as I said in my presentation, I was very grateful to come back. You see, London spoiled me with total openness and acceptance and multicultural society that I totally adore. And I think maybe New York would be another similar space to that. I am totally grateful for what is happening, and I think that, you know, with the experience doing the events smaller and bigger, and also last year, since I came back from Cyprus, I took part in the Zulus festival. It's really nicely made, and by the way, if you have a creative portfolio and you're looking for the opportunities, you can register for free. You're doing your portfolio over there, and then, for instance, they are doing festivals as well. So it was happening, I think, in September and October, and it was really greatly done. And the discussion panels that they had, it were mind-blowing, like this one today. But what I wanted to say is, like, their people were not coming to their events, and I could not get that. And just through looking at that, I was like, okay, so my 300 Polish women who supported my event, that was a lot of people. Like, I had to have this comparison. People do not come to support creativity. People do not support, like, you know, that's also from my studies. I found out, like, you know, the percentages and what time do we spend and what money do we spend for the creativity. I think this is not only London, this is not only UK, this is like general stuff. But again, it's our participation is going to different events. It's going to encourage people to come back. That's what I feel. And answering the first part of the question, I love British. I always did. So, you know, it was just natural for me to be here. I did not have any of those stuff. And like regarding the Brexit negativity, I don't know how I would feel if I would have that. I think, like, in every country there are good people and bad people, and it just depends who you're hanging out with.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Can I ask, do you think, I assume you all create some kind of arts or creativity yourselves, even if it is just through curating other people's exhibitions, etc. You may not find this affects you at all, I don't know. Do you find that being Polish is a bigger, or Eastern European, etc., a bigger influence on you, or being an immigrant is a bigger influence on you, for that, or any influence at all?
Sorry, could you rephrase the question? Because I
Yeah.
don't think I understood.
As an artist or a creator, do you think of yourself as Polish or as an immigrant, or how does that affect how you create
Okay.
and what you create?
I think for me it depends on what environment I'm in. So today I feel as Polish and as an immigrant because this is the environment we are in. The talk is about that, the event is about that. If I went to talk about performance art, you know, and I would be, let's say, talking about performance art as an expert on performance art, which I can, well, I'm not an expert in that, but let's say another subject I can talk about, I wouldn't feel necessarily, I would be still from Poland, but it wouldn't be my first thing I would be now talking about. So definitely it influences the way how I am, how I am perceived by other people, because they always, if they don't know already, they would be wondering where I'm from. But I have to say that throughout my career here in this country, it's been kind of helpful to be a bit different, and I didn't feel it to be an obstacle. So, yeah.
I think I never experienced anything negative about being from another country, and my personal artistic practice has never. I don't think it has ever been influenced by any. I don't think. Maybe if you looked at it, you would say it was. But when I look at it, I don't think it is. My practice is about learning and people and how we develop to who we are. Just about research. So perhaps the educational path that I have undergone throughout my life, being educated in Poland and in Britain, have influenced how I look at things, but I don't think my work is about being different or being from Poland or being an immigrant. However, I really enjoy looking at work of people who explore that area. It's very, very interesting to me.
I made my first collection in Poland, and it was the most Polish thing I did, so it's really funny. However, it did allow me to, as a fashion designer, to show myself in London. First show I had at Piccadilly Circus, and the stuff was very colorful, and they were very accepted and better than in Poland, by the way. Obviously, then I have my organization, so sort of it's like a stamp. So that's very simple. In my practice as an artist activist, I'm sure that I think that there is more like feministic stuff, like feminism is more of a thing. However, yes, I think that maybe somebody looking at it, they're gonna see the maybe Slavic roots, maybe not necessarily Polish. But I do like to play with this subject, but like as a fashion designer, and because I'm this is my job, you would give me the subject and I would just design the collection. So, but that would be more craft than I think that the art. For me, it's the multicultural salad that I'm interested in. What and the progress, what is influencing us and how we change. At the moment, I'm working very much with the performance and the video and the photography. So, and I'm using myself. So once again, somebody would say this is so Eastern European. On the other side, somebody would say, oh, this is so London. So, but it's very interesting. I would definitely like to ask people how they read my thing, because once I do it, it's for people to make of it, right? So thanks for this question.
Unfortunately, we have to stop here, but I would very much like to invite you all to have a look at our exhibition at the Glass Box. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
For coming.